Here now, Ben Shapiro, editor-in-chief of DailyWire.com. Ben, good to see you, as always. Thanks for being on the show tonight. Your reaction, you said this is a ridiculous stunt. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, it's a ridiculous stunt in the sense that if Congress wants to change the law right now to allow illegal immigrant detainees to stay with their children, they could theoretically do that. The Democrats are not moving to do that. Here is the real issue. The issue is that under American law, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has said this. When illegal immigrants enter the country with illegal immigrant children, those children are not allowed to be kept in custody longer than 20 days. They must be referred out of the system to some sort of other guardian figure. Well, what that means is that these kids are going to be, by law, separated from their parents when their legal immigrant parents cross the border. Democrats' response to this has been to say that Trump is the one who is forcibly separating these kids from their parents. But in reality, what Democrats mean by that is that what they would like to see is a mass attempt by the Trump administration not to actually enforce immigration law at all. So their answer is, instead of just releasing these kids and keeping the parents, let's release everybody. Let's release the kids. Let's release the parents. Let's release everybody. When in reality, if you actually want to enforce immigration law and you want to keep the kids with their parents, you theoretically could actually make a legal fix for that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point, because if you do go through the congressional process and you try to change this, you're going to sort of run headlong into the entire issue of immigration reform in this country and say, well, why are we doing this, right? How is this working? Why are we separating these children? Well, we're separating the children because they're coming across. In some cases, they don't know whether or not the children are actually the children of the parents or whether or not they're being trafficked into the country. There are a lot of concerns about these families. In many cases, they just don't know, and they don't have paperwork, and in some cases, they can't communicate that properly. So in some situations, these kids are in danger, and it's the worst possible thing to see them, you know, in these holding centers. But, you know, they, in some ways, I mean, do you believe it's true that they brought it on themselves?
Well, I mean, I don't think that the kids brought it on themselves, obviously,
no, I mean,
but I think that when the parents come across the border knowing what the status of the law is,
yeah.
I mean, if the status of the law is what the status of the law is, then I'm not sure why that changes based on the President of the United States and his administration enforcing the law. Again, I would like to see these kids stay with the parents, but the easiest way to do that is to change the law to allow the kids to stay with the parents, or for the parents not to come illegally in the first place. Democrats like Merkley are insisting the best way to fix the law is to just not enforce it at all. Just anyone who comes across the border with a kid, we let go straight into society. This is why Merkley's in favor of sanctuary cities. This is why he's been in favor of catch and release policies that allow illegal immigrant parents to just be released and then they never show up for the court date. If you're going to enforce immigration law, under the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruling, you must take the kids away from the parents. That's not the fault of a bunch of conservatives. That's the fault of a bunch of people on the left who sit on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals and are beloved by Democrats the world over.
Yeah, we've been talking about, you know, a number of the legal issues that came up over the weekend with the president, with the, you know, ability to pardon yourself, all of that, whether it's unconstitutional, the Mueller investigation overall. And, you know, sort of lost in that little shuffle was one tweet from the president saying, oh, it's day 500 of my presidency. You know, and that really could have been, you know, sort of the marquee moment of the day. But, you know, because of all these other tweets, we're not necessarily talking about it. But I'm curious what you think on day 500. You know, how do you think he's doing?
I mean, he's governed more conservatively than I certainly could have imagined. He's the most conservative president of my lifetime through his first 500 days. So in terms of policy, I'm extraordinarily happy with President Trump. In terms of his rhetoric, I mean, you said what you said about the Twitter. I mean, the Twitter is what the Twitter is, and President Trump's rhetoric is what President Trump's rhetoric is. I think we have a lot of areas to be grateful for in terms of policy. I wish the president could keep his rhetorical habits a little bit more under control, and then we could all appreciate the winning.
And the Philadelphia Eagles apparently they decided not to go to the White House, and the president says, you know, well, they don't like my policy. What do you think about that?
Well, the president has a habit of saying to people, well, you can't quit, you're fired. So I'm not particularly shocked by the president's response to all of this. I've never been a fan of sports teams visiting the White House. It just seems like celebrity culture at its finest. I hate celebrity culture in general. I don't like Kim Kardashian at the White House. I don't like the Eagles at the White House. I don't like anybody who is famous for the sake of being famous at the White House. It seems to me that this is, again, the people's house where policy should be getting done, not a bunch of photo ops, whether it's Obama doing it or Bush doing it or President Trump doing it.
All right. Well, I'm just being told that Trump disinvited them. So maybe he's starting to feel the same way about celebrity culture at the White House. Ben, always good to see you. Thank you so much.
We will make America great again.